Hi, good evening, everyone. I am Pawan. I'm a developer advocate at Robusta. We'll be talking about Kubernetes Monitoring 101 with Prometheus. This is our free KubeCon webinar. We call it ticket loop back off for everyone that is not able to go to KubeCon in person. Um, as I mentioned, I'm a developer advocate at Robusta, and I'm also a Kube ambassador. I love open source, and I also am a tech writer and create some blogs and that sort of content. Before we jump directly into monitoring and also Prometheus, we'll just start from the basics and understand why we need monitoring and also how Prometheus can help us get better at it. Um, During this session, we'll also be giving away swag. So you can post threads or you can post screenshots of the whole session later, and we'll pick out on Twitter. We'll pick some winners and give away t-shirts. So first, we'll start with the definition of Prometheus, but as we go, you'll understand more about all of the things that we want to discuss. So Prometheus is a monitoring solution to collect and aggregate metrics as time series data. At first glance, this might sound complicated, but but in this whole context, there are only three things that you need to understand. First is monitoring, second is metrics, and third is time series. So first we'll look into all of this with an example. Imagine today you create a website, and all this website does is it fetches memes from Reddit. So it'll bring you memes and show you a meme every time you click generate. So you shared about the application on social media and you went to sleep. Tomorrow you wake up and you see the application is running fine, but you check your email and you have a lot of emails from people saying the website is down or they can't access, or it worked for some time and it stopped, it did not work after that, that sort of concerns. So what you think of doing is, so you need to understand the problem first. You don't know why the website is going down or you don't know what's happening. So actively you consider a few things that you can use to understand the underlying issues. So here in this case, you want to track the number of users at any given time. So let's say it is 1 a.m. You want to see the number of users that are coming to your website, and also the amount of CPU that is being used at any given time. Say the same at 1 a.m. how much of my CPU is being used of your server. So with this, you set up something to make sure you get all this data and you go to sleep. And on the day 2, which is the day after tomorrow, you wake up and you still have emails. So it's not a problem because now you have more insights into what is actually happening. So from the data you got, you understand that between 1 a.m., between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m., the CPU usage is really high. So this is the CPU usage, and the CPU usage is high because the number of users are high. So now you have website is down, why people are not able to access it, because when the CPU usage is high, the server is not able to serve people properly, and people are not able to use the website, or the server is crashing or something. Using this information, you can do something else. So for example, you can say, I will add another server between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. So another server will pop up. It will have the same website. It will also serve the same website. And both of them combinedly might help your users access the website freely. So this is the approach you take to so this is the solution or the thing that you do for your website to make sure it's running and working properly. Now using the example, we'll try to understand 3 main important concepts, which are monitoring, metrics, and time series. So on day 1, when you created the application was not working. So what you decided was to actively collect data from what's happening there. So that is called monitoring. Monitoring is the action of collecting information from any running system. Here, the running system is your website, and you wanted to actively gather data from the system to make some conclusions after some time. So that is called monitoring. And on the day one, you decided to use certain things to collect. So here in this case, it is the number of users and the amount of CPU used. So these points, or these are numbers. So if you think of it, users are the number of people at any given time, and CPU is the amount of CPU. It could be 50%, 60%, or something. So that is called metrics. Metrics are numbers about a process. Here, the process could be the CPU usage, or the memory usage, or the number of requests at any given point of time. And on day two, you used the data, and the data, as you see, is collected at different intervals of time. So the data of the number of users and also the CPU is collected at 12 a.m. and 12:01, 12:02, and so on. The data is collected at multiple time intervals. So that is where you get the time series. So time series is a series of data collected over intervals of time. So here the intervals could be every 10 seconds, or every 20 seconds, or every 1 minute, or 1 hour. So anything that that is being collected at a series of uh, intervals based on the time, it is called time series. So now we have a really brief understanding of what basically Prometheus is, which, as we have discussed. But we also need to know the workings of Prometheus, how Prometheus works. So we'll also understand that. Before we go there, we will also look at how Prometheus actually looks. I have Prometheus locally running. Okay, we'll just port forward Prometheus. So here I have a cluster with Prometheus installed. So now we will port forward Prometheus. Prometheus works on 1990, and we'll port forward it to port 510. Okay. Yeah, we'll check that. For going there. Okay, so basically Prometheus can be installed in multiple ways. Prometheus comes in different forms also. So here we have a blog on Robusta on how to configure Prometheus and the important things that you need in Prometheus. Before we also jump there, we will also see how Prometheus works internally. So there are three main things that Prometheus does. We will also connect the dots to the example that we already gave. First is it collects the data, it stores the data, and it lets you use the data. So we'll start with the collection part. So any application should be supporting. If you have an application, let's say you have the website, right? So the Kubernetes memes website. So for Kubernetes memes website to work with Prometheus, you need to have an endpoint. Example, if you say localhost 5000 slash, then there needs to be an endpoint that sends data directly to Prometheus. So Prometheus scrapes the metrics from there. And then after you get the data, you need a place to store the data. And this is where the you need to store it based on the time series. So you have to have a database where you can store all the metrics and anything that is needed. And then after you collect and store it, the next part is for you to use it and get conclusions from the data you have. So for that, you can do two things. The first is you can query the data, which is you can go to Prometheus. Prometheus has something called PromQL, which are queries. So using PromQL, you can write your queries and ask Prometheus to give you data, and Prometheus will give you the data. And also you can use UI tools similar to Grafana, which so Grafana lets you create UIs, it lets you create graphs and all that sort of things. This you can using the UI, it's a little simpler for you to do things or create alerts. So one of the other things that you can use the data is to create alerts. So you can pre-configure alerts. Say, for example, now if we have a CPU usage of 50% or more, we can configure Prometheus to send us an alert. And that alert is sent to something called an alert manager, which is also inside the Prometheus. Inside your cluster, you need to install it and configure it. And alert manager sends the data to Slack or your email. So before we go any further, we will just make sure Prometheus is running. Just a second. Okay. Guess we don't have the support of the demo. We'll just do it. So basically, you will have a UI with Prometheus. So the Prometheus UI lets you check for queries. So this is something called Prometheus Lens, which is online. So the queries, the Prometheus queries look like this. So when you run them, it will get you data from your cluster, which you can see. So these are all the different metrics that you have, and you can see the data based on that. Now writing, this is called PromQL, so which is to write Prometheus queries. We won't be going through that in this demo. So what is so at this point, what you are doing is when something happens in your cluster, you're getting an alert on Slack or email. So now all of this is good. One of the other things that people misunderstand is Prometheus is not Kubernetes specific. Prometheus also works with just any, you can run it on just any Linux server or something and scrape metrics using it. So you don't need Prometheus you can use Prometheus for everything else and not just specifically Kubernetes. So now one of the problems that you get here is when you send the alerts to Slack, you get an alert similar to this. So which is here in this example, we have a Kubernetes job that is failing. And as we can see, you get the data. And when you click it, it will take you to Prometheus UI, where it will show you the data of it. But this in itself is not enough. So this in itself is not giving you enough data to understand what's happening with your Prometheus cluster. So this is where Robusta comes in. So Robusta is an open source tool. So we are so what Robusta does is Robusta, as we can see in the diagram, it connects with the alert manager, which is basically it connects with Prometheus. So when there is an alert, the alert manager sends the alert to Robusta, and Robusta adds extra context to it to help you understand about your issue better, and gives you the data in Slack or Teams or wherever you. These are called sinks or destinations, just the destinations where you want to see your alerts. So we'll just see an example. So here we have a Kubernetes job fail, but so by default, if you use Robusta, then your alerts are a little different. So here it is giving you context. So it is telling you where it's failing, how it is failing. So all of this works by default in the open source itself, Robusta open source itself. But Robusta also has the UI, which is free for first, paid afterwards. It is the platform is closed source, but you don't have to use the platform. There are advantages with using the platform. Example here, if you click investigate, it will take you directly to the failed job. You can see the details of the job. You can check what's happening with the job. And you also have a separate job screen where you can get data of the jobs. You can see the graphs and all that sort of things. You don't have to configure most of the things by your own. So here you also see graphs. You see you can also get logs of the pods. CPU requests, CPU limits and requests. So by default, Robusta adds in a lot of alerts for you. So by default, there are a lot of alerts that are pre-configured. We also have a repository called the demo alerts, which you can use to test the different alerts. So here in this case, if it is a kill, then you also get to see a graph with what is happening or when something happened. So that gives you additional context to understand your issues. So now, why do you need that? Because to solve your issue, to resolve it, you might, in this case, when you are not using Robusta, when you are using Alert Manager, you can also configure Alert Manager to show you more data and all of that. So, but that is all manual process. You have to do that manually. But by default in Robusta, you have all of that configured. You get logs. You also get the status. You get if the alert is the type of alert, the severity of the alert, and all of those things. Additionally, with the alert itself, and also you can silence the alerts. Say if there is high CPU throttling, you know about this, but you will fix it, but you don't want to hear about it. You can just create a silence, and because you have a silence, you won't be notified about it. Now that brings us to so one of the other things is using this slash metrics endpoint is not the only way you can send data to Prometheus. We use the most common and most simplest example here, but there are other ways you can send data to Prometheus. So the flow is, as we've discussed, you collect the data here and you store the data here and you start using the data based on what your needs. That is basically monitoring with Prometheus 101. You can also find me here. And before we also have a giveaway running. If you didn't know, we also have a virtual giveaway. If you are not participating already, just participate. We also have a YouTube channel where we post videos about Kubernetes and a lot of other things.
I can send the links in the chat.
Yeah, sure.
And if someone have a question, you can write in the chat also, and Pawan will answer.
Yeah, sure. So that is our YouTube channel. Are there any reason why email is from Alert Manager and not via Robusta? Okay. Okay. I think you mean this. Oh, it's just an example to just illustrate, and also we at this moment we don't have the email integration through Robusta, so it's just to illustrate like Alert Manager on its own works, like it is also installed in your cluster. If we So if we see, we also have Alert Manager installed on our cluster. So all of these, you can, if you install Prometheus separately, you won't have all of these. You only have the Prometheus and Alert Manager if you use the Prometheus Community Edition. But if you use the Robusta installer and use it directly, you will also get the alerts pre-configured. You will also get the you will also get the CLI to easily configure uh, your alerts, and you will also get Grafana if you need it. You will have kube state metrics. All of these are things that you need to do additionally. Most of the time you might have to install them additionally, but with by installing Robusta directly, you will also have Prometheus configured, you will also have Robusta configured, and you will have a full stack monitoring system deployed at once. Using, we also have help charts. So using help charts, you can deploy everything directly. Another question. Manage inhibit rules. Yeah, you can use the silences option here. You can use silences to inhibit rules, or you can also use the Helm values file where you can just mention that you don't need this alert to be fired, or you don't want that alert to be fired. So you can also do that in the Helm values file. Quick question, in Robusta, can we silent the alert based on time schedule? Yes, you can do it for a duration, but I don't think we have like a schedule that starts at 3 a.m. and ends at 4 a.m. But you can join our Slack. We have a Slack community. We have a Slack, so you can join us, ask us your question there. There are experts or my colleagues who are more experts in Prometheus and Robusta, so they can also like help you or add the feature for you. We can certainly do that. So yeah. And personally, I'm also working on a project called Hello DevOps project, which is also from Robusta, where we are. So the main goal of the project is to help you get hands-on practice with Kubernetes and DevOps in general. So we'll have a simple example. You don't need any programming knowledge. This example basically is in Python, but you don't need to know Python any bit. You just need, you'll just learn Docker and Kubernetes. I'll also post the links to these in the chat. Follow us on socials. Tell us things you want to learn. If you want more videos related to this or similar videos, please send us a message or just directly message me anywhere on socials. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Pawan. It was very good. And thank you all for joining. There is a last question someone want to ask? I think that's it. So thank you and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.